Productivity. From top CEOs to your favourite YouTubers, everyone talks about being more productive. Nowadays, things are starting to shift a little, and we're not all trying to work ourselves into an early grave. But we do still want to better ourselves and find ways to get a little more productivity into our everyday lives. Work that little bit harder, or at least get out of those habits that waste some of our limited time. Today, I'm going to share with you ways that I think we can start to achieve those goals. Let's talk about productivity. So the first thing that I want to talk about today is about finding that time of day when you are the most productive that you can be. Maybe it's in the morning when you first get up, maybe it's at night, some people are night owls, but everybody has a time when naturally they feel more focused and more productive and they just feel like they can get more done. Maybe you blitz through your tasks really quickly and with ease, or maybe this is the time when you tackle the biggest and the most challenging tasks, the ones that you've been putting off. But everybody does have a different approach to this, and really I would recommend finding a way to record when you're most productive. So, take note of when it is. Maybe when you get up in the morning, you realize, I'm feeling really productive right now, first thing in the morning, and you just blitz through everything. Just keep a note of that, maybe over a couple of weeks, and just see when it is you felt like you were most productive over that period of time. And then you can start to schedule the hardest tasks during that time and not try and force yourself to do the hardest things when you don't have the right amount of focus for it. And by doing this, really what you can end up achieving is you can form habits around doing the hardest thing at the most productive time. So time blocking is a really good example of this. There are lots of people in lots of professions where they'll time block certain activities and they won't do anything else during that time period. So for example, in sales, if you have to do so many cold calls and you absolutely hate doing cold calls, then you might time block that in the morning as soon as you get in, when you're feeling the most refreshed, you've got the most energy, because that really is the hardest task of the day. And by time blocking this out and doing it every single week, in and out, every single day at the same time, it becomes a habit. And I really think that building things into habits is a really good way of being productive. I could probably talk about this for a whole video, but just the idea of getting yourself into a routine of doing the same thing, of it becoming almost like muscle memory. And then that way, even when you're not feeling very motivated, because you've been doing it over and over and over, day in, day out, you still end up doing it, even though you're not feeling very motivated. And that, I think, is a key way to start your journey of becoming more productive. Linked to forming good, productive habits, we also want to break those unproductive, bad habits that we've built up over time. Now, you might think, it's not a habit that I'm not productive. I just don't always feel like it. I don't feel motivated. But actually, you'd be really surprised. If we spend every evening just sat in front of the sofa watching TV, well, then, you're going to get into the habit of doing that. And it actually becomes harder to break that cycle. And we often think, I'll watch TV tonight. I'll do that important task. I'll do it tomorrow instead. And do we? Very often we don't. We come back into it the next day and we do the exact same thing. We'll just watch TV instead and do nothing productive with our time. Now, I'm not saying that watching TV is always bad, but I'm just saying if you're trying to become more productive, then we need to start thinking about how to break that habit. And a good way to do that is just to start with a very, very small productive tasks. So before we watch television, maybe we'll just do a very small chore. Maybe you just tidy something in the room. Just start to shift your mindset into the idea of doing something productive before we do the unproductive things. And slowly you'll shift and you'll find yourself doing more productive things and less unproductive things. This is kind of the same idea behind making your bed in the morning. You start to form that productive habit as soon as you get up. And so this way, by making the bed, you start to shift your mindset into being more productive as soon as you get up. The only thing I would say on this is if you are going to start to shift your mindset in this way, try and make sure it's a low energy task that you're picking as your first productive thing to do. If you do something productive that's really difficult and energy intensive, then what you might find that then it's difficult to keep going. Whereas the idea here is that we kind of want to do one small productive task and then our brain thinks, that wasn't so bad, I can do another small productive task. And then you get through a few before you even realise that you're not watching telly. That's kind of the idea. And speaking of picking low energy tasks versus high energy tasks, one thing that you can try is you can try organising what you have to do by importance, sure, but also by how much energy and how difficult you think you're going to find it. This is linked to doing the harder tasks during that more productive time when you feel like you've got more energy and more focus. A good idea is to have a to-do list, and you can pick maybe 1 to 3 tasks on that to-do list that are the most difficult ones, the most important ones, and you try and do those while you've got the most energy. This way, you're not wasting your most productive time on really easy, small, not as important tasks. You don't come to the end of those tasks and then you get to the big one and you think, I haven't got the energy for that, and you put it off till the next day. That's what we're trying to avoid here, really. So yeah, 1 to 3 tasks that are big, important tasks when you've got the most energy. At the same time, keep it flexible. If you don't get through all of those tasks, then don't beat yourself up, especially while you're still trying to shift your mindset. It's really key that we keep things positive here. We don't want to not achieve our tasks and then get back into a slump and think, oh, I'm never going to change, I'm never going to achieve anything, and then, you know, go back to just binging TV all day. So don't beat yourself up if you don't do all those tasks. 1 to 3 that you focus on is a good idea. And make sure that you are taking breaks. Social media these days, it messes with us all. It makes us think that everybody is just working all the time, non-stop, super hard, putting all their energy into it, never doing anything fun, never taking any breaks, and that's not the case. Studies have shown time and time again that rest is really, really useful for us. Giving our brains a break allows us to be more productive and more creative later on. You've got to be taking breaks if you want to make sure you're not burning yourself out and making the most of your energy. We're going on to talk about procrastination now a little bit, and this is almost could be a whole video in of itself as well, but the idea that I want to talk about with procrastination is that sometimes when we do have a big task, just overly thinking about it can actually stop us from doing that task. We start to ponder the details and we think, oh my god, this task is so big, there's so much I have to do, I'm never going to get through it all, it's never going to happen, and then we kind of put ourselves off the idea of it. We then put that task off and we don't do it. And if you can, really, just start. Just pick the smallest bit of your task. If you need to, break a big task down into small pieces and just start with the first one. And really, just by doing the first smallest task, we're already being many times more productive than we were in the past, because in the past we would just think about it too much and not do it. But now we've actually gotten started, we've done the smallest task. Once you've done the smallest task, you'll find you're probably okay to go on and do the next smallest task, and so on and so on and so on. And in this way, it helps us to not procrastinate and it helps us to get things done better. Another thing that we can work into our routine to be more productive is exercise. Now, if you're not really in the habit of exercising already, then you're probably thinking, well, I'm trying to be more productive, Tom. Don't also try and make me exercise. That's 2 things I have to change. But really, they go hand in hand. So when we exercise and we start to use more energy, our bodies get used to the fact that we have to use more energy, and in turn, they start to produce more energy over time. And after we do this for a few weeks, then it's been found that our bodies, the baseline energy level of our bodies sort of rises a bit. Our brain releases a bit more ATP than before, and so we find we have more energy throughout the day. And this doesn't just correlate to physical energy, you know, running, walking, you know, doing physical exercises. This also correlates to the energy in our brain and our concentration and our focus. So while you're trying to be more productive, if at the same time you start to build up a regular pattern of exercise, then you actually find that doing that does help your productivity as well. Your concentration goes up, and so you can achieve more tasks. And you may be wondering what kind of exercise this is. Do you have to go running? Do you have to go kayaking or rock climbing, or, you know, lift the heaviest weights possible? Well, no, actually, you can just go for a walk. Even low impact exercise does help with this. And so if you just get into the habit of doing a walk, you know, maybe just a quick half-an-hour walk a couple of times a week, that will help to start the process, and you can go from there. And speaking of getting more energy, there are a few other ways that you can feel more energized in your day, and this really centers around things like sorting your sleep schedule out, you know, not staying up all night to work and not really sleeping. That doesn't help you. Getting a good regular 8 hours of sleep is kind of ideal. Not going too crazy with caffeine, things like that. Just finding ways to feel more refreshed when you wake up in the morning and have more energy through the day. Well, there we are, guys. I hope you found that useful and you've picked up a few tips here and there to be more productive. One of the tips I mentioned involved getting more sleep, and if you want to find some ways to do that, then you can click here. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.